Good morning. It's Sunday Fun Day here on the upper deck. And look who I have with me. And we'll be talking to you right after this. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining. Right off the bat, I want to say hey to Lori and Jonathan and NFE. And clearly, that's not Jonna sitting next to me.
No.
And not even pretending to be Jonna. So Jonna lives in the area that was struck by the tornadoes the other day, and her family are fine, but there are still storm watching warnings in place, etc. And so Uncle Tats here has been kind enough to be my ride or die today. And obviously, all prayers go out to Kansas and Iowa, who were so hard hit by that tornado. That was absolutely terrifying, even to watch. So our thoughts and prayers are with everybody that's been devastated by that. But Tats, hey, thanks for joining at the last minute. And what's going on? Where are you, and why are you tan?
No, no, I'm down in South Carolina. I think for the weekend with my parents, and but no, you put the bat signal out, and here I am. So
Yeah.
I was able to jump in and hang out with everybody this morning. It's been a while since I've been on the show with my travels, but yeah, I miss it. I'll be back on the regular shows during the week on Wednesday. Everything will go back to full swing. But it's just been exciting to kind of being able to kind of take a step back and kind of relax a little bit. And NFE, I am definitely enjoying my vacation. I miss being home, but I like being away.
And if anyone enjoyed, deserved it would be you. So I'm just really glad that you were able to do that, and get away and spend some time rejuvenating. And I'm happy to be your warm up act,
Yep.
so that so that when Wednesday comes, you'll be, oh yeah, this is familiar. This feels right. So Spencer, if you're listening, thank you, because as always, Spencer continues to contribute, and we have our trivia question of the week from him. So I am going to put it on the screen, and hopefully I could actually. I'm having difficulty this time. Okay, what would there's got to be a glitch. There's just always got to be a glitch. Oh, window. Here we go. Okay. I figured it out. Bear with me. Play a little Jeopardy music in your head,
Yep.
and everything will be fine.
All right.
Okay.
Time to answer Jonathan's question. I'm in Conway, South Carolina. And good morning to FJ. Been a while.
Hey, FJ. You were sneaking in while I was having technical difficulties. Good to see you. All right. So from Spencer, who's always so timely, short and sweet from him this week. In 1980, a New York Yankee and a Milwaukee Brewer were tied for the American League Home Run Championship. Who were those two players?
What year was that?
1980. A New York Yankee and a Milwaukee Brewer were tied for the American League Home Run Championship. Who were they?
Ooh.
Yeah. I thought that was a goodie. It's not an automatic answer there. So thank you, Spencer. I know you're giving everybody something to think about. And I see. Hey, Deb. Good morning. FJ already has a guess in there. Ben Ogilvy and Reggie Jackson, maybe.
That's a good guess.
That's a decent guess. Very decent guess. We're just gonna have to find out. And so this has been quite a week, and we're gonna get into it. And yeah, Strike zone, your NFE, Reggie Jackson comes to mind. Yep, so you're in line with FJ. What's up, D-Rod? D-Rod saying Cecil Cooper. I don't even remember Cecil Cooper, but okay, we'll put him in the mix.
Yep.
All right, so Tad, what was your take? Let's break down last week. And what was your take on? Let's just get Oakland out of the way. I know you talked about it. The guys talked about it during the week, but what was your take on Oakland? And
It was a crappy series, even with the split. We kept seeing the same roles from the offense. They just couldn't find their rhythm. They're relying too much on one or two players in the lineup, and that's just not sustainable.
right,
Contributions. Out of the 9 players in the lineup, if you're not getting contributions out of 5 of them, you're pretty much a recipe for disaster. Because you can't just rely on one person. And that's just it's not a one-person sport. It's always been that way. But the fact that now you saw, and that was their big hiccup is by the time that the guys that we expect to get on base, there was nobody to bring them home because nobody was doing anything. You couldn't depend on Glaber. You couldn't depend on, I mean, unless they're in scoring position. Cabrera, he's kind of like a mid bat. When runners in scoring position, he's a plus plus bat. So there's that inconsistency with that.
right,
We're not really getting anything from Wells when he was in the lineup. Trevino was, he's had a good week or two. But how sustainable is that? And Judge just really hadn't really hit his stride either.
right.
And just because he's got that C on his chest doesn't mean that he's immune to any of the
Of
criticism.
course not. Yeah, he's human, and it's the old thing that we can't go in assuming anything. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what place a team is in. They could still drop your drawers and take things from you.
Yep.
Oakland proved that point real hard. And Jonna and I have been using have taken Verdugo's Dawgs thing and ran with it. I mean, I even
Yeah.
used it in the show title today. But so jumping off of that, who's in the doghouse for this past week? So, to me, and Chad, this is for you too. And when we say who's in the doghouse, we're thinking good boys and bad boys. So,
No.
like, who's the good dog? Who's the bad dog this past week? Tats, what's your take?
Good dog. You know what? It'd be my first time doing this segment. Let's give it to the OG dog, Verdugo. The way he keeps he keeps everybody energized. He's just got that swagger about him. He reminds me so much of Nick Swisher. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that Verdugo has kind of been that breath of fresh air in the clubhouse, and that's what's going to keep everybody on more of a positive momentum.
Yeah, and if nothing else, he has the New York Yankees guys in pinstripes, woofing.
Yep.
Did you ever expect our clubhouse, our dugout, to be barking,
No, not at all.
including coaches and etc.? I mean, yeah, he definitely. It makes me almost forget like the 28 chains around his neck that I've been really bashing him about all along. Yeah, and that energy matters. And the other thing is he's stellar out there in the outfield too. I want to highlight that also. He's made some really clutch catches that others might not necessarily have made that could be filling in out there. So yeah, I think he definitely gets a good dog. He gets a bone in the doghouse, and he gets to play with that ball right there in the picture. Because he's been playing ball really well. For me, and we'll get to last night. Obviously, last night everybody was good dogs last night. They were
Yeah,
all, I mean, you know, but who were my bad Celtics last week? Also the offense. Because they just weren't showing up for so long. We just talked about Oakland. We lost the first game to the Brewers. And are the good dogs going to be back today? Is the big question. And also I just my good dog of the week though is Glaber because Glaber needed that hit last night. Um, and the RBIs that came with it. I mean, that drought was really starting to was already a big concern, but to have him break out that way. So, my question to everybody, and Tad's turning to you then, how how does that continue? Because we can have these one-offs, and if last night was a one-off, we're going to be back to having the same discussions we've been having all month. So, consistency obviously matters. So, yeah, it's great to have murdered them last night, but what switch was turned last night, and how do they keep the lights on?
yeah. It's well with Glaber. I mean, it's one game, so it's hard to just be like, all right, he's back. But I mean, he's been so inconsistent, and it's rare to see a player this inconsistent and a walk year on top of it. So I don't know if it's just he's putting too much pressure on himself. He wants to live to the everybody plays well in the contract year kind of vibe. Uh, but he's just gotta stay consistent. I he would have been in my doghouse on the bad side, before last night. But what he has to do now is make sure that he carries last night into today. You can't go back to last week. Because if he's just gonna have those one-off games where he does something, then there's really no need for him on the roster.
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's a combination of those things. I think you're starting off the season feeling pressure about heading into free agency, and especially since with Glaber, I really feel like for him it's Yankees or bust. His heart would be broken if they don't take him back on, if he's not
Well, then he better play like he wants to be here because he's not.
right, right. And we're really still seeing the, like you just said, just, if he had something defensively that was a huge improvement, then that would at least be something. But, that bat last night helped. When will we see it again? Will it be today? I mean, we'll know soon enough, but how consistent will it be? And yeah, so Judge and Rizzo busted their slumps. Hey, Sean, good morning, and good morning, Karen. Saw you come in. Um, and we have to kind of love Stanton's consistency lately. He broke that slump a while back, and he's doing the small stuff. He's doing the small ball stuff too. And I'm really liking. I really think that's all part of the new package he brought because he's not always swinging for the 98%, 98 mph velo, and getting it out of the park, and that's a new way of contribution for him. So I think he deserves a shout out for that too. Um, and Volpe, though, if I'm remembering correctly, I had the chat here to correct me. I think Volpe's the only one that didn't get, bases earned yesterday. I know he was hit by that pitch, and then he was also intentionally walked. I think he might have been the only one that didn't produce yesterday, and he hasn't been all that consistent. Um, so that great, approach at the plate that we had been seeing it earlier in the month, are you seeing a, a slack back there, Tats, with his approach at the plate?
No, I think his approaches stay the same. I just think his spot in the lineup, the pitchers are attacking him differently. And he's really it's just that he's leveling off. He wasn't going to maintain those numbers from the first couple weeks. Those aren't sustainable throughout a whole season. He was going to tail off. He was going to hit a slump. It's just it was timed with him being moved into the leadoff spot, and I think that's kind of why it's got that highlight on it. I think if he was going through this and he was still in the sixth spot, I don't think we're analyzing it as deep as we are at this point.
Right. And and Sean's saying we should keep the same lineup as last night, which then answers NFE's question about, NFE's wondering if Volpe's going to lead off this afternoon. The lineup wasn't out before we went live. I don't know if it's up there now. My question's the same for Verdugo. I was surprised to see him at cleanup yesterday. But that was a calculus that played out. If you're Boone, do you use that one off? Like, oh, okay, that was luck. That was a calculated risk that paid off. Um, I don't know. I guess it depends on what he plans to do with Stanton. Um, what do you think about the lineup last night, Tats? Like with the new things like Verdugo at cleanup.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good move. They had to do something. They had to put a hot bat behind Judge. Is they didn't have to, and as good as Stanton's been, Stanton's still that, he's that, strikeout or home run guy that doesn't serve Judge any good. Um, so I think, and Rizzo having his struggles, Verdugo's been a very consistent hitter. I think NFE put it in the chat earlier. He's batting, 274. You know, and he's put together very good at bats.
Yeah.
So maybe having somebody like that behind Judge, they'll be a little more aggressive towards Judge, which might get them to make a mistake. And with Judge starting to get the swing, the timing and the swing down, he'll be connecting with a lot more emphasis on those balls rather than just kind of popping them up or just missing. So I think it's in a situation where it's the right it's the right time to do it.
Yeah.
They're on the road. You don't have the pressure from the home crowd. I think that plays a huge factor, especially with the way our fans are in Yankee Stadium. You strike out and they want to go after you. So the fact that they're able to kind of play around with these things on the road, and we saw the result of it yesterday. Is it realistic to expect another 15 runs today? No. Especially day game after a night game. You know,
Right.
it's a quick turnaround on the field. But as long as they're still putting together the competitiveness of the at bats, I think the Yankees could take the series.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they're going to take the series. One reason being that they're heading right into the with the O's
Yeah,
right after this, and we don't want them going in having lost to the Brewers. That would be a really bad tell.
no,
Um,
I don't think it matters what the team is. I think it's you don't want to go into the series with Baltimore or for loss against any team. You want to play them.
yes.
You want to play them when you're feeling on when you're on that high.
Right. I guess what I was thinking with that is with the Brewers being, top of their division and
Oh,
now, going into, well, I guess after last night we're probably back on top of the O's, but still it's going to be, tail wagging the dog all the way through between us and the Orioles if things keep up the way they are. And just going back to Volpe for a second, both NFE and Jonathan are saying, and I agree, that Volpe he's just not ready for leadoff. Period. And this wasn't the first time they've tried this. They tried this earlier on in the season. Not that the season's so old, but
yeah.
yeah. Let's keep him on the bottom half of the order. I think that that's just right. So that if the cleanup guy does his job like Verdugo did yesterday, then you keep that momentum going with somebody reliable. But that's not it. And I know it's difficult with DJ being out, and I think we should talk about that for a hot second. But Volpe's just not that guy right now. So and DJ DJ is like the ongoing question mark, and so we're not, and we've talked about him a lot. So no need to go into a deep dive, but they're going to have to figure out who's the leadoff guy, because obviously it's apples and oranges, but it's as important as the cleanup guy. So who do you expect to see leading off?
No, I think we're going to see it's going to continue to be Volpe until Dominguez comes back and they get him into the works. But I think, look, I think Volpe, like I said before, it's just the timing of his slump with them moving him to the leadoff hitter. I don't think it's because he can't handle the pressure of it. I absolutely think he can handle being a leadoff hitter. He's just got to make that adjustment back. The pitches are, they had the book on him. They made their adjustments, and now, okay, now it's up to Volpe to make the adjustments back to the pitching. And I think he could do it. He's a smart kid. He absorbs a lot of information from the veterans. Volpe's going to be just fine in leadoff. They talked about putting him in that spot. They pulled the trigger a lot quicker than we expected. But you made the decision. Now I think they just got to let him ride it out.
Yeah, and if he is agreeing with you, and D-Rod is also, by asking it in question form, who else would it be if not Volpe?
Yeah.
So
Well, the other
um
one would be Verdugo, but if he's going to show that he's going to be legitimate protection in the four spot, batting clean off with for Soto and Judge in the 2-3 spot, then you got to leave Verdugo where he is. So you know they can't keep. They have to be careful not to keep mishmashing the lineup to see who fits where. That's what spring training is for. Um, and you make you tweak everything as the season goes on. They just tweaked Verdugo into the cleanup spot. You got to leave him there for a week or two and see if yesterday was a one off, or this is really going to give him the best opportunity for the Yankees to succeed. Which is
right,
why I would just roll out the same lineup that they did last night. I'd roll it out today.
right. Okay, yep. And you got D-Rod's thumbs up on that there, Tats, and and if he's right based off of what you're saying there, Tats, that we wonder if if the chess game is starting now, like we hated so much last season, and if there's going to be any changes. And to me, Verdugo, when you think about Verdugo as we know him right now, personality wise and player wise, I think he'll thrive so much more at cleanup than leadoff, because he gets to be the big dog, and that really drives him. Look at last night, case in point. And so I think that he's gonna eat that alive, and really work towards being what that is supposed to be, and getting the payoff of the interview on the field with Meredith after every game. So hey, if it works for him, it works for us. If it works for us, it works for him.
Yeah, if we're looking, a week ahead, and Volpe still is just not, he's got the at bats, but the numbers are not there. Then maybe you evaluate that situation, because at least you have enough of a sample size or enough of a track record to go, okay. Because the other factor is, when he was in the sixth spot, there was nobody behind him. There was no protection for Volpe. So they were able to, they were like, all right, if he gets on base, he gets on base. The guy behind him isn't going to help him at all.
Right.
So there was that situation also. Because
Yeah.
nobody was afraid to pitch to Torres. So you had all those different factors in play as well. Where now it's like, all right, we have to be a little more aggressive with Volpe, because if we let him on base, Soto's right behind him. So that's why you see it. That's where more of why I'm saying let him make the adjustment. If he's not making the adjustment, what do I want to see him adjust more? Look, if they're not going to give you a legitimate hit to pitch, work the count and get on base via walk. Same way that Soto does.
Right.
And I could frustrate the pitches that way. Not with chip shots into the outfield that you could stretch to a double. Those are all fine and dandy. We want to see hits, but we also want to see base runners in front of our power guys.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And just when you just brought up Soto, and so did NFE in the chat, and that he's been the only consistent one in the lineup, and that's true. It's what we expected, but I'm just gonna say it early, and I'll say it often. What is my classic? Every week I have to say, manage your expectations. Even Juan Soto's gonna slump, and so let's just keep that in mind. I'm with you. Attack everybody, the world. It doesn't take away from him being a generational player and the best get we've gotten in years and eons and centuries. But we also have to not be complacent about him. And start building around him for that's going to have to be a chess piece move at some point. And we just can't. I mean, we couldn't rely on the captain for a long time.
Yep. Well,
Um,
what put baseball and the American League East on notice, or the American League overall, was we were still winning a lot of games with Judge not contributing, and it was one of those holy shit. Now what do we do? Because we used to just have to take the legs out from Judge, and the Yankees had nothing to stand on. And well, now we have Soto, we have Verdugo. You know,
right.
when Stanton gets into his rhythm, yeah, because Stanton has been very quietly, getting back into some good graces here. Um,
Yep.
so
I'm loving
we
that.
get, now you have to go. All right, Judge is going to start hitting his stride, and if Soto goes into a slump, it's like, all right, we quieted Soto, but oh crap, now we got Judge to worry about, and it's that 1-2 punch, that two-headed monster in the lineup. That's
Yeah. I like the way you just put that. And and when it happens, by the way, I best not be seeing any Soto slander. Hashtag Soto slander. I because I know our fan base. I'm in it.
yep,
But I'm just laying that out there too. But yeah, and yes, thank you for acknowledging Stanton 100%, and Rizzo, who during his slump, I was worried. I'm like, maybe he's not entirely back together again. But he's been showing up more and more and more. I think he's just, it's part of his easing right back in. And what we're seeing in the power, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
they did mention that the lineup was out. I can't pull it up on my phone. I can't multitask like I normally do. But if somebody could drop the lineup into the chat so we can evaluate,
yeah,
see what if any changes were made. Uh,
yeah, so, yeah.
that Volpe is still in the leadoff spot.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think we're all worried about it. It's usually right about now. Usually during the show, it drops, or right before the
yeah,
show. So, and I saw NFE saying it wasn't up yet. But yeah, if anyone catches it, put a red alert in the chat. Hey Joe, glad you joined. And so we're just gonna have to wait and see. And I don't know. So who is it on? Is it Stroman today? I'm not even
yes.
sure. Yeah, I figured it would be Stroman. Which speaking of Stroman, I want to talk about Rodon. Um, you know, I'm feeling so much more gooder about Rodon.
More gooder.
Yes, so
Listen,
much more
this is
gooder.
the Rodon that we expected, right? So the way I look at it, when you look at his numbers from last year, no doubt, terrible numbers, right? We couldn't even figure out how he was even on a major league team. But we had him. We had him under contract. We had to deal with it. And I'm like, you know what? I said at the end of the year, I'm like, if this is going to be his worst year as a Yankee, at least it was in his first year. This way now that you can only, when you're on the bottom, you can only go up. And we're seeing him climb up into the good graces of the Yankee fans because he has made a significant improvement. He's more confident with his pitches. He's been more precise with the strike zone. So Rodon is exactly what I expected when we first saw him. This is what I expected from him.
Much more centered, also. much more mature and keeping his cool. And so the lineup's out. Breaking news.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay, so as predicted, Verdugo's in cleanup again. Volpe, Soto, Judge, the same. Looks looks
yeah,
with
yep.
yeah, looks the same. Okay, don't fix what isn't broken. Um, and so pivoting back for a quick second, I just want to say that Nestor was robbed because Nestor also has been looking good in his last two outings, and if it weren't for the bats, it would have been a different outcome that had nothing to do with Nestor. I like what I've seen from Nestor recently.
No,
Is anyone going to challenge me on that?
that needed to be made.
What?
That's just no. My father handed me the his phone with the lineup on it.
Oh,
No,
hi,
so
Mr. Ryan. Okay.
so here you go, Pop. But I should have this at home.
Seriously, a personal assistant right there.
Yeah. Um, no, look, the pitching has not been the problem. And that's one of the things I've been emphasizing. Yeah, not every pitch is gonna get those games where they just don't have it. You know, combined with the factor of their lineup is just hot right now. And that's where you get these blowout games. So it could have easily been the other way around in the score yesterday. Where the Yankees get rocked. It's going to happen. That's baseball, Susan. You know, so it's really just a matter of how you respond the next day. And we're seeing with the starting pitching, they're building off of each of their starts. And you're going to get to that point where they're not going to be the one. They don't want to be the starter to end a winning streak. And once they're all in sync like that, I think this team's bound to make a run like we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of that, I was reading an article this morning on MLB.com um, about the five teams that whose postseason odds have jumped the highest from last season, and the Yankees are right in there in the top five, along with the Royals, O's, Brewers, and Cubs. And so last season, at this time last year, it was 72% odds, and we've jumped up so far year to date 88.3. So our odds have risen there, and a bit of a surprise to boy, the Royals are running a great campaign, as are the Cubs. Um, so and obviously no diss to the O's. I predicted that wasn't a surprise for me to see that they hit the ground running and that they're
The
swinging.
Orioles were a fluke last year. I think they're legitimate.
Yep, 100%. And the note about the Yankees was that we're fourth in the MLB for team ERA. So considering everything that's going on and not having Cole, to have a team ERA of 3.06 is to the credit of the guys we just mentioned, and Stroman being consistent, and Heel is
He'll,
but was better the last outing. Sorry, what are you saying?
he's going to figure it out. I'm not worried about him. If he has been if he's been struggling each start, I could be like, all right, maybe it's time to reevaluate who we put in the rotation. It's it's just growing pains for him. That's where I'm looking at it. And if we're going to be able to put up run production to bail him out, because I think that's also the big factor why you're seeing, because it all gels together. You'll have the issues where last year we saw that we were scoring 1-2 runs a game. I think was our average. I think we had a 3-run average last year in games. That's a lot of pressure put on the pitching to be perfect. Because if you're not putting up runs, you're not going to win games. Doesn't matter how good the pitching is. but it doesn't matter how many runs you put up if the pitching is just going to give it back. So they have to have that tandem. That's what we're seeing this year. The offense and the pitching uh, are really working in sync. So it's and it's not going to be the perfect formula every game. It's not going to work every game,
Right.
but we're seeing it 7 out of 10 games where they're just the offense is putting up the runs and the pitching is shutting the offense, the opposition down. If you're winning every 7 games out of 10, I take that every day of the week.
Right. And we have a whole like heel defense team in the chat. So, Joe, but Joe, I'm with you. That's the thing. And he can't get flustered. He's taken Rodon's place. But we got to remember Heel is a kid.
Yeah.
Heel was in high school last week for all intents and purposes. So he had some maturing to do, and to be in the highest pressured, environment, we got to give him a little time and space for that. And I think that the coaching staff is literally rallying behind him, and I say literally because they were all surrounding him in the dugout when he came back in during at the end of one of the innings on his last outing, like to just like sort of it felt to me like they're preemptively, they're de-escalating him before he throws an
Yeah.
iPad. So I think they know that, and I think he'll get there. And he'll get there. He'll get there. Get it? And Sean, yeah, you're right. We got to remember he's coming off Tommy John. And thanks for the reminder, because that I do need to remember that.
There's a few people. Well, if he's healthy enough to play, then they can't use the injury as his past injury as an excuse, which I think is bullshit. Especially when you're dealing with Tommy John surgery. That's just because they've been able to get the advancements in in medicine to have more of a success rate in the surgery doesn't mean that there's no chance of you have to you always have to anticipate a setback. So there might be days where his arm really it's just like that. It's just like arm fatigue, but nothing to warrant. Nothing that's going to cause you to be shut down. You're just not going to have all your pitches in one game.
Right.
So you might have to rely on, more of your off speed than your fastball. And if you don't have a fastball to set up your off speed, nothing's going to work because they're just going to be sitting.
100%. And so, pivoting to today for a second, I think we know what to expect from Stroman, and so far he hasn't let us down. But it's really going to matter. He's gonna need that support behind him, and at the plate. And you mentioned something at the top of the show, Tats, that I meant to bring in, and I actually also meant to get the numbers on this, but our runners in scoring position numbers have to be abysmal so far. It has to be one of our lowest stats. And so that's going to be key. That's my key to the game. Look at me, I'm Bob Lorenz. So that's my key for the game. Don't leave guys stranded on the bases. But I think the outlook for Stroman, I really don't have any comments about that. I don't think it'll be about him, the outcome of this game, if it doesn't go the way we want it to.
Yeah.
And so because Joe was saying that he thinks the O's are going to make the playoffs 100%. I think you had consensus from a bunch of people. And you just had up that I'll always wait until the second year back from Tommy John. I think that's more than fair. Even factoring in, Heel's age, and that you would expect him to maybe bounce back sooner than a 35-year-old pitcher. But, still got to give him the time and space. And in the category of similar but different, good news on Dominguez, that he's making such great progress and improving his distance with his throwing, and looking like well on track for maybe even an earlier timeline from what I've been reading. So there's that. And so, before we sort of wrap for the day, Tats, what is there anything else on your mind you want to bring out forward? Anything you want to add to the chat, or um, talk about, since you haven't had a week to talk about things?
Yeah, it's I guess the question would be, because I was sitting with my father. We were watching the game the other night, and with my mom, who I got to watch my language, especially she'll come out and smack, and she's at church no less. But
Oh, do
oh,
you still get punished when
oh
you're
yeah,
home?
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yep. Well, when you're the oldest of four, you're always to set, lead by example. Um, so just think there's three younger siblings just like me. Um,
nobody's like you, chat.
that's true. That's true. Like I said, they got it right the first time. I don't know why they got to keep going, having more kids. Um,
I'm sure that's what my sister Karen says too.
no, you know, and I know it's an old subject, but we saw it the other night. With the Ghost Runner. I just, it drives us nuts. I hate it. It's, all these stupid Manfred rules. And what my father said. If you're ruining the game, you're turning it into a beer league with all these with all these adjustments and rules and clocks and stuff like that. Um, so I really I'm so angry at the players that they voted it back in. They were so close to getting rid of that thing.
It was a real stupid move. It was probably their worst decision at the table. FJ is saying that the Yankees don't hit and run or bunt. They'll lead the league in GIDP.
See, that's another problem. It's the double plays. It's that twin killing, and it's you can't let these. They actually do have. They've had a habit, and this happened a lot with the Oakland series. They they had the pitching on the ropes so many times and just kept letting them out of it. You had a game where they had the bases loaded twice and never scored a run. That is, for this lineup, that is unacceptable. I don't care how good the ace pitching. Who is it? Wood? No, I forget who pitched that last game of the series.
I think it might have been Wood. Was it
Right?
Wood?
Well, either way, it's got to this point. It's like, come on, you can't elevate the ball. You know, all they used to teach everybody was to swing upward for launch angle. You can't go back. Go back to that for an at bat. And at least score a run on it. Trade it out for a run. I'll Believe me, there are games I'm like, I'll take the out to score the run. So
Right.
the grounding into the double play is it gets that gets you frustrated.
Right. Although I do have to say that I've seen more bunting than usual lately. In fact, it surprised me. I think it was this series that there were two bunts in a row. I think Trevi bunted and then Volpe bunted, or vice versa. And I was thinking, that's usually kind of like a, ooh, I'm surprising you now, I'm bunting kind of thing. And to have it two in a row, I thought was kind of odd. But yeah, the hit and run, and if you love to hit for power, how about sack flies?
Yeah,
uh, and get when you have runners in scoring position, doing a little bit of that, but so it's a strategy that's a bit underrepresented. The team's going on and on about chat's going on and on about the ghost runner. Who was it? Strike So was
I remember.
saying, imagine if Tats had a twin.
Yeah,
Um,
no, you don't. Look, I remember CC Sabathia using this argument, and it was the only argument that I was like, okay, as a union guy, I get it. You know, we're being paid to play nine. We know that there's always that possibility of playing extras, but we don't get paid overtime. You know, and I'm like, okay, that is actually not because the metrics say that there's less injuries when you shorten the game. But at least Sabathia had a legitimate reason for why he wanted to vote for it.
right.
But At the same time, you're making millions of dollars. An extra half hour is going to really, you know,
Yeah.
it's going to hurt you. Come on.
Yeah.
You know,
Nothing
I'm like,
personal,
you're
CC,
starter
but
at 11th inning. You're not in the equation for the win anyway. So it's. I know everybody has their feeling about it. Some like it, some don't. I don't. I never did. Um, the only thing I've really eased up on was the pitch clock because
mhm.
you barely notice it, to be honest with you. But I
Yeah, I mean
I don't like the feeling that I'm spending good money to go to a game when they want to rush me out.
yeah,
So
that's the thing.
I'll go to the games anyway because it's the vibe at the stadium is unlike anywhere else. But I'm going to be more hesitant to go to a game if I'm going. I'm going to go and spend $200-300 to be rushed out in two.
Right.
I'm
That's
like,
right. You want the full experience.
yeah, I want my money's worth.
Exactly. Exactly. And not on warped speed. And I understand that. And really bad for business too, because are you going to want to wait on a long line for your hot dog when or your beer when you're probably missing 2 innings because of how much faster the game's going? I'm exaggerating. But and what it has done though, the pitch clock is I'm seeing a lot more balks called
Out of
than
boxes.
before. Yeah. And Joe, thanks for correcting me. At least I was in the right church. Wrong pew. It was Wells, not Trevi, with the bunt.
Uh,
So thank you for that. Um, yeah, and Sean saying it cheapens the game, the ghost runners. Karen saying that we have no one capable of bunting. Um,
well, yeah, we do. If they actually put a little effort into it, anybody could learn how to bunt. But we have names in the lineup. You're like, no, you're not going to wait for Soto to bunt. You're
right.
not going to wait for Judge to bunt. Rizzo, and they're not. Those four guys are not bunting. Verdugo, not at this stage. You know,
No.
you got really Wells can bunt. Wells actually can really bunt. Cabrera and Volpe. So those are three guys that can keep. But you don't need everybody to be able to bunt. You just need those. If we get those three players to be able to strategically bunt
That's
when running.
right. Because really, that's what it's supposed to be, is strategic.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be part of the, tool of tricks, like to be used on the regular
Yeah.
bag of tricks, rather, tool of tricks. Um, yeah. So, um, I just, we have 3 hours to pray,
Yep.
2 hours to pray at this point, and just hope to, get what we need to get out of there and win a series. I mean, and we have nothing to complain about,
Yeah.
because we're in really great shape. And someone corrected me earlier. I know that the O's have us now. I know that percentage wise, O's are on top of us. So
Yeah.
there's that. But go ahead, Tats.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're up by like half a game. Yeah, we're not.
Okay.
We're not talking. It's they've played one more game than we have. That's why.
So maybe I just made a prediction. And we'll
Maybe.
just maybe I was speaking in the future. So I guess everyone could throw tomatoes at me next week or roses. We'll see which. Um all right. So as we always do, let's take a look at the answer to the trivia question of the week, which was that um in 1980, there was a Yankee and a Milwaukee Brewer tied for the AL Home Run Championship in 1980, and we got some good guesses in the chat. We got Ben Ogilvy, we got Reggie Jackson a couple of times. I saw Winfield in the mix, um, but here's the answer. So congratulations, FJ. Um, you get a virtual
High five.
high five. Yeah, here you go. Fist bump.
And
Way
he
to
got it
go.
right off the bat. Like there was no chance for him to even Google that.
Seriously, FJ. I mean, encyclopedic mind there going on. But yeah, Reggie Jackson and Ben Ogilvy, they each hit 41 home runs that year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's the deal there. And as we wrap up, please, if you haven't hit like yet, what are you telling us? Do you not like us? Did we not bring, joy these past 30 something minutes?
Come on, I took a break from my vacation to hang out with you guys. Smacked out.
Seriously. And look what Tats's shirt is saying. It's saying respect the Tats, for crying out loud. So please hit that like button right now. There's only 2 likes. Only 2 people like us, and it's giving me a complex. And so seriously though, don't forget to like, ring that bell, and subscribe if you aren't already. Don't forget to follow Tats and wait, coming to the camera. Let's see you. We want to see Tats, Mr. Ryan.
Wait.
Top of the morning. You're not quite in the camera yet.
I enjoyed the show today. It was very cool.
Oh, thank you. I already know you're really cool.
Enjoy your day.
You too. Wow, cameo appearance. Come on, that's worth a like. Cameo appearance from Mr. Ryan, father of the uncle. Come on now. And don't miss Tats and Donald and Rob Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. And NFE has his show following this on the Strike Zone. Make sure to tune into that. And Tats, I want to thank you for joining on your vacation.
No problem.
And I want to tell you to go have a dip in that pool that you showed me before we got on the screen. That's right behind you.
I'll go in there voluntarily the next time.
And Jonna will be back next week. And I want to thank everyone in the chat for joining us. You make the show what it is, and we appreciate you. And as always, you have a reserved seat right here on the upper deck. Go Yankees! And what, Tats?
Where those pinstripes of pride, play hard.